Good morning, everybody, and welcome to your Monday morning Newcastle United news. My name is Paul, and I'm, of course, joined by my old mucker, Billy Bob. Thank you so much for tuning in today. As usual, if you do enjoy the show, please do give it the thumbs up. And, of course, if you're new and you like what you see, why not hit that subscribe button? Free to do so. Come and be part of an amazing community here on the Toon Review. But don't forget to hit the notification bell, which will let you know when we upload any videos or we do any lives. You can become a member of the Toon Review. Lots more to give away this week for our members by hitting the join button just underneath us. And, of course, you can donate to the channel via Super Chat, which is the $sign at the bottom of the live comments. And that will, of course, get your comment guaranteed to be read out on the show. Good morning to Mr. Billy.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to all of you folks out there.
Now, a bit of news to go through. Obviously, the main thumbnail point was Olise or Chiesa. Now, there's many media reports this morning stating that Newcastle United's first choice is Michael Olise. However, if anything falls through with that deal, then they will look to Federico Chiesa. Now, Chiesa is yet to sort his future out at Juventus. Apparently, he is going to speak to the manager and the club owners, etc., after the Euros. Of course, Italy are in the Euros, and so is Chiesa. So, I mean, Billy, it's down to the point now where Newcastle have stated their intent with Olise, and this isn't some rumor going around on, backstreet websites or anything like that. This has been reported by many, well, when I say believable outlets, you know what I mean, the high-ranking outlets, who stated that we have made an approach for Olise, or at least we're in the conversation. But a lot of people are saying, well, Chiesa might be a better option. Injuries for me, I'm not even looking at the injury records because they've both got them. Chiesa's slightly worse, but Chiesa's been around a bit longer than what Olise has. But the fact of the matter is, we're in for the players, and it's down to, I mean, look, Olise for me would be a wonderful signing. Absolutely brilliant. But if we were to go for Olise and then not get Olise and then turn our attention to Chiesa could turn around and say, well, hang on a minute, I'm not your first choice. Why should I come to you?
Yeah, I guess it's a catch-22, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I'd sooner have Olise, but I think there's less chance of getting Olise. I think there's other Premier League clubs who probably would be more kind of favourable to him. Certainly want to all wear all blue and not too far from where he plays now. I think that'll be his choice. I think he wants to go to Manchester United because he's a Manchester United fan by all accounts, but they can't afford him.
Yeah.
So it's down to us and Chelsea, I think. But I think he'll go to Chelsea. And Chiesa, well, I'd love to see Chiesa here, but again, he is injury prone. He's a little bit older than Olise, but
yeah,
I think he's a higher level of Olise, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah, obviously he's had the international experience, and he's a Serie A veteran, isn't he? So he does come with a lot of experience, which I think might be beneficial to Newcastle. I mean, the reports suggest that Newcastle could struggle to sign the French youth international this summer, with competition for Olise strong from the likes of Manchester United and Chelsea. Yet Newcastle seemingly have an alternative already lined up, if they miss out on Olise. Newcastle could make a move for Juventus winger and Italy international Federico Chiesa in the latter stages of the summer window if Olise ends up joining a rival team. Once hailed a world-class player, Juventus are in a position where they have to sell if they're to make signings under the new manager Thiago Motta, with the old lady keen to return to their former best. Now, Chiesa has stated, Billy, that he is probably interested in staying at Juventus. Obviously, Thiago Motta, new manager there. It's a new beginning for Juventus. So Chiesa, may want to be a part of that. But like the report states, Juventus are struggling financially, as are a lot of Italian teams who do actually need to sell. It's very similar that the FFP rules and everything like that. That's across football. Juventus are in Juventus have been in a struggling situation for a while now. And they will have to let go of some of their top stars if they're to improve. So if this new manager, Motta, comes in and says, look, I want to sign A, B, and C, but we have to get rid, they can't until they get rid of some of their, stars. And Chiesa would be one of those stars that would, he'd command a decent transfer fee.
Yeah, and I think with Tanali being at Newcastle, I mean, surely he'll kind of have some sort of enticement over him. They're really close mates by all accounts. So Yeah, it'd be a great one for us, Chiesa. I think he'd be a star in the Premier League as well. I really do. As for Olise, he's already a star, isn't he? But he's got a long way to go to get to that international level. Not yet in the French side, is he? So, yeah, I think there's more chance of getting Chiesa. I don't think we'll get either. If I'm perfectly honest, I think we'll end up with Madueke. If I was to bet on it, I think we'll end up with the fella that's going to be replaced by Chiesa by Olise at Chelsea, and maybe getting only Madueke in. But I'm happy with either of those three. I really am.
I mean, exactly. I mean, look at the names we're being linked with for this right-hand side. And clearly Newcastle United have seen this right-hand side as probably their priority now. Now that Lloyd Kelly's in the door, yes, I still think we need a striker. I still think we need another centre-back. But I think they're making this right-hand side their priority now. Now, whether we go for any players while the Euros are on remains to be seen. We've seen that happen before, of course, where teams have gone to the training camps or wherever this player has been and spoke to them while they've been on international duty. That is a possibility, of course. But I do believe that the representatives of Chiesa have already spoke to Newcastle, and that was probably done back in the winter transfer window when he was first linked with us. The report goes on to say Chiesa is in need of a new challenge, having returned from a year-long injury with Juventus as a player who was struggling for form and fitness with the Italian giants. Now, that puzzles me a little bit because when we saw him play for Italy in the Euros not a couple of days ago, he looked pretty damn good. And for Newcastle, they must jump on the opportunity to sign the Italian international ahead of signing Olise, who realistically will join one of Chelsea or Manchester United this summer rather than moving to St James's. Moreover, with Juventus open to selling, a deal to sign Chiesa could be a formality for Newcastle, who could already have the funds needed to complete the deal for the Azzurri talisman. Again, I mean, they're saying about being a sort of the money there, Billy. If we were to, if we believe reports that we have met or gone in and spoke to Palace, then it's clear that is £60 million that is available.
Yeah,
that would get Chiesa, and not for the 60 either. We'd get him on a cheaper deal.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot cheaper than that. I think we'd probably get him for 40. I would say.
Yeah,
a rough estimate. Yeah, that'd be a great signing for us. However, does he want to leave Italy? I don't know. It'd be a good move for him, I think. As I say, with Tanali at Newcastle United as well, I think it'd be a fantastic move for us. I really do.
Yeah, definitely options.
Olise wants a release clause, so it's not a case of negotiating with a club. We've offered the release clause, and that's it for them. It's about negotiating with Olise, and like you've said, I think Chelsea are the best bet for him. I really do.
I think it's more like we've put the feelers out for Olise, Billy. I don't think we've made a formal approach to meet the criteria for the release contract, the clause. Sorry, what I think has happened is Newcastle United have made inquiries to his representatives to see about if there's any interest. Because if there's no interest in there, then there's no point making the offer for the release clause, is there? So I do believe Newcastle are playing it well. You know, they're going in and they're discussing things with the representatives just to get a feeler of if that player may be interested in Newcastle United. I think the fact is that they've probably already done that, like I say, with Chiesa back in the winter window when he was heavily linked with a move to Newcastle. It didn't happen for whatever reason. Alexander says both are good, but I don't think FFP will allow us to sign Olise. Such bullshit, FFP. Well, you say that, but if we're making roads to speak to him, then obviously the money is there. I genuinely believe we have a decent amount of money to spend in this window. Peter says, hi guys, I'm happy with them both. Chiesa would be good for Tanali and just be a great player, and Olise would be amazing because he's Premier League proven and a great player. Happy either way. Exactly. And I suppose with Olise, he has played in the Premier League. He knows what to expect straight away. Chiesa would be coming in from Serie A. And you know, by the looks of things, the way Tanali started with us, he scored against Villa, don't forget that. But he was starting very slowly, getting used to the pace of the game in the Premier League, which Chiesa would have to do. Yeah,
I agree. It's kind of different for winger, though, I think. I think he may be expected to do a little bit more defensive work than what he does in Italy, but, you know, he's a very, very good player, Chiesa. There's others as well. There's Ferran Torres, of course, we've been linked with. You know, I think this right wing, right-sided forward position is going to be where we spend the most of our money this summer. I've got no doubt about that. And it'll be someone we've mentioned already. It'll be either Olise, it'll either be Torres, it'll be Chiesa, someone of a high level, and someone that Toon Army will be pleased to see week in, week out.
We've got news on the Ferran Torres one, so that'll come up a bit later on. Tristan says, Paul, is the Tomori links because he's close friends with Tanali to settle him in more? Well, Tomori, I mean, I haven't heard anything on the Tomori one today, to be honest. Nothing at all in the media regarding Tomori to Newcastle, but it is one to keep an eye on because, let's face it, he's a very, very good player. And I think Tomori might want to move back to the Premier League because he should be in that England squad. Let's be honest. He should be in that England squad. And Southgate simply hasn't done proper homework, to be quite fair. It's 60 million up front, so if we can get home cheaper over a couple of years, means we have a lot spare to spend elsewhere. Chiesa, yes, we know he's on 150k wages a week. Look, I'm not going to bang on about wages much more because I think wages can be worked around, in my opinion. I think if players want moves, then Newcastle United, if they're to sign these elite players, I think the hierarchy at Newcastle already know that this transfer structure that they've got, the wage structure, sorry, is going to have to be smashed out of the window. We have to pay for elite players, and they know that. So I'm not even thinking about the wages at the minute because I think if we're making offers for these players or making approaches for these players, Newcastle already know what these players are being paid. So they're not stupid. They go into it knowing what the wages are, knowing what the transfer fees are. Then why are they making approaches? Why are they talking to representatives? Because there would be no point if the money wasn't there. So I'm not particularly worried about wages, Billy.
No. I mean, I think we've already got a couple of players on that kind of level anyway.
Yeah.
I think Bruno's on more than that, actually. So I don't think £150,000 a week wages are really a necessary stumbling block at all for Chiesa because we've already paid a couple of players more than that. And like you said, it's time to kind of step up now. And if you want to compete with the big boys, you've got to compete with them everywhere, haven't you? So,
yeah, absolutely. Now, Niall's asking if for the release clauses, teams in Europe, it was stated somewhere. I'm not sure whether you're talking about Bruno's or Bruno's certainly. Olise. No. If you look at all the reports, state Newcastle, are willing to, and Manchester United or Chelsea, they are willing to meet the release clause. So it's not just. I don't know where this European thing came in because there's a lot of people said that about Bruno's as well, of course. But the release clause is there. It's for all. Tanguy Ndombele is a free agent as of June the 30th. Any takers? Not for me. I think the reason I'm saying not for me is because I think he's got a wonderful talent as Ndombele, but his attitude is wrong. And we've seen that at Spurs. The Spurs fans certainly didn't like his attitude. I think he was substituted once as well, and he had a dig at the fans when he was coming off the pitch in one of his final games, I think. Look, for me, a very talented player, but again, you have to be careful of these players coming into our dressing room, Billy. We know what Eddie's like on having that close-knit group, and we don't want bad apples. We've seen this with Dubravka. He's probably out the door in the summer. And Ndombele, for me, is another bad apple.
Well, we talk about FFP and Spurs. It's Spurs' record signing, and they've released him on a free transfer. Come on, that ain't good for FFP, I know.
But that says it all about how badly they wanted him out of the club.
Yeah, the only time I've seen him play anything half decent was Steve Bruce's last game.
Yeah,
the game after the takeover, he had a fantastic game then, but every other game has been absolutely awful.
Yeah. James says, would you rather pay 60 million up front for Olise or 40 in installments for Chiesa and 25-30 on Youssef Fofana instead as centre midfield backup? Chiesa is the one I think that Newcastle United may end up going for. If I'm openly honest, I think that is a more sensible option for them. But I don't think they're going to touch anywhere in the midfield this summer. If you look at the players we've still got, that's not to say, hypothetically speaking, if we sell a Longstaff or we sell a Willock, that there's going to become an availability in that midfield, then maybe they will look at doing something. But right now, as we stand, I don't think the midfield needs any improvement right now because we've got some elite players to start, and then we've got quality players as backup for them. So I don't think centre midfield or defensive midfield is anywhere near what we're looking at right now. I do genuinely believe it's right side now, centre forward, and possibly, a goalkeeper and another centre back. I think those are the four positions that will will be dealt with first. We may bring in some academy players, Billy, in various positions and players for the future.
Yeah, 100%, because that's got to start. I mean, we have started already, and we'll start seeing the fruits of that in 12 to 2 years' time. But you've got to keep that conveyor belt rolling with the academy to kind of each year another player becomes available, another two players become available. So, yeah, I'll expect to see quite a bit of academy moves, actually, maybe 4 or 5. But yeah, central midfield just don't need it. And with the money we have, we don't know how much we've got, but it's going to be restricted at some point, I would think. You've got to get rid of you've got to get the players in that you need in the positions, and striker, right wing, centre back, and goalkeeper are the 4 that we need.
Absolutely. No well, Kenzie says here 150k for a week for Chiesa. I thought it would have been way higher than that. Well, exactly. I mean, when you think about 150k, that's not really a great deal more than if Bruno. I think he'll probably be in around that. Joe Linton's wages have gone up, so they are starting to put the wages up anyway. However, when we was it Nico Williams we looked at in one of the transfer shows last week, he was on 200, so or 230, whatever it was. So that 150 isn't that high in the general scheme of things for a quality right-sided forward. Yeah,
I mean you got to pay. They're expensive signings. I mean, even these days, your fullbacks are generally the cheapest ones of the squad goalkeepers.
Yeah,
you're paying over the nose for them now these days. 20 million at a bottom level for a fullback or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, right wing, the stars of the team aren't then strikers. You're paying whatever you want. If you want a quality one, you've got to pay for the nose.
Absolutely. I mean, I'd rather go for Kubo, but he's never linked. So
no, he's not. No.
But I think he would cost a lot of money as well. Ali B says, for me, I just wonder if going in for Olise is a statement of intent. The club know they won't get him, but it stops all the crap about FFP media frenzy and clubs trying to sign our lot on the cheap. It is one way of looking at it.
It's a double-edged sword, because you're also saying we've got £60 million.
Yeah.
But,
so when we come knocking for a player, they could just go Newcastle tax again.
Yeah.
Iheanacho would be a good backup, says Martin.
He's linked with Villa today, strangely enough.
Yeah, strange. How strange. Tristan says Paul Ben Jacobs is running around telling YouTube we need to sell Bruno to buy new players. He's a gremlin in the media. Don't pay any attention. Ben Jacobs knows as much about our financial situation and how much we've got to spend as one of the hairs on my anus, right? Simple as. They haven't got a Scooby-Doo. The only people that know what is going on with Newcastle finances are Newcastle United themselves, right? Simple as that. It's a load of bollocks. They don't know and just pay no attention, because at the end of the transfer window is when we'll know how much Newcastle United have had to spend. Or they may not spend it all and wait again till the winter window to strengthen again. But for me, I'm just sitting here as a Newcastle United fan, really relaxed and positive about this transfer window right now. More positive than I was in the winter window, and certainly more positive than I was in the summer window last year, because I believe we've got more money through the door now that these reporters just won't take on board. We've got sponsorship deals, advertising deals, massive deals with people here that have brought finances through the door.
If Ben Jacobs' will was a real thing, then we'd be sat at the bottom of League Two now with Mike Ashley still as our owner, because he was adamant that the takeover wouldn't happen. That was 2 years ago. People still take heed of what he says. Ridiculous.
Alexander says, I would have loved to see Dybala. I know he's up there with age, but he's a great player as a bench player, and we need to have good kitty. But some players need to go to free up funds and transfer wages. Well, we've done that really. I mean, Dummett and Richie have gone, of course, and Karius, etc. There is players who have left who have freed up some of the wage structure. But I believe there's money there. JT Toon says, Nico Williams is a real live wire. If either of these two targets fall through, let's try for him. He was impressive against Croatia. I mean, we know he's a talent. We've seen him at St. James's Park as well. He's an absolute talent, this kid. But again, money maybe, he may be one step too high for Newcastle at the moment. But hey, you never know. I don't think any academy players will get playing time next season. Eddie hates using youngsters. Well, I think Eddie wants to have a quality squad, and that will be made up of very much experienced players, but some youth as well. Maybe not the academy this season, but what I'm sure Eddie wants to have an academy, Billy, that is there as a road forward for these players to make the first team. I don't think it's like Eddie doesn't want to play any. I just think that maybe last season, as we saw in Australia, some of these academy players are just not good enough. And I think that's what hit home with me, was when they did that preseason trip and they played the academy players against the All-Stars. And remember, some of the All-Stars weren't there because two of the top teams were playing in the cup final. So they got absolutely demolished by, an Australian All-Star team. And for me, that just proved a lot that maybe Eddie's right. The academy isn't quite good enough to bring those players through just yet.
I mean, the closest one you would think would be Alex Murphy, but even he was out, he was really poor against the All-Stars as well. But I think the track might not be straight to our first team squad. It might be a year away on loan somewhere. League Two, Championship, whatever, and then bring them back, similar to what we're doing with Minte, but at a lower level. Yeah, and just see how they're doing for the clubs, really, and get educated elsewhere in professional men's football, because it's a high level to move up into, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Peter says Mbeumo from Brentford could play as a backup striker to Isak and right wing, and just want them to keep Minte. Well, we were linked with Mbeumo, and that's kind of gone off the boil again. But listen, we don't know what's going on in the background. They may be talking to all these clubs about players. I'm sure they put the feelers out on these players anyway. So, we're sitting here obviously just talking about what's written in the press. We have no idea what's going on behind the scenes, whether they've spoke to Mbeumo and his representatives. There was heavy reports that we scouted him quite a few times. There's other players that have been mentioned earlier on towards the end of the season. But now we're into the transfer window. The problem is the Euros are on. And I think most of the transfer window will certainly heat up a bit after the Euros. But those players that are maybe not at the tournaments, they're the ones that will move first. But it's exciting for me. It really is. Rufiad Benisian says also, Paul, none of the journals have a frigging clue on PSR and how it's calculated or how to read accounts. They all need to go back to school. Well, there's some of them not doing the due diligence, quite clearly. But
it's the media narrative, though, isn't it? Talk down little Newcastle, basically, because they want that cartel 4, stroke 5, stroke 6, whatever, however many you want to say, to be the be all and end all of everything. And
they don't want Newcastle up there.
Yeah, talk down Newcastle United, Aston Villa, West Ham, whoever. All talk down.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Don't know if you've seen about Kvaratskhelia. Family and agents have said that he will be leaving this summer. I'd just throw 80 million for him over Olise any day of the week. Well, I've just seen a report before we came on saying that those reports are untrue and that he is perfectly happy where he is. So, again, it's a bit of to and fro. Fubar Steve says, has the Ferran Torres links gone cold? Well, we'll move on to him now because Barcelona have stated, or it's written in the Spanish press, that they have laughed off Newcastle's valuation of Ferran Torres. They've mentioned 17 million. Now, we first got wind of this with a 15 million pound bid and 5 million in add-ons, which I have to say, Billy, we did say at the time, that seems extremely cheap for Ferran Torres.
Yeah, it's a definite low ball offer. What they want for him, if they, what would we offer 15 to 20 million pounds for a player of that quality? I don't know. I really don't know. But it tells me that Barcelona don't want too much more than that. There must be a ballpark figure that Newcastle United's scouts, if it is true, of course, are aware of. If you're going to spend 60 on Olise, why not spend 25 to 30 on Torres? I think Torres is a fantastic player. I really do.
80s Gamer says, I'm not sure Chiesa would want to play under a small-named manager like Eddie Howe. I'm not sure I agree with that
Sandro
at all.
Tonali did.
Exactly. And Alexander Isak did. Sven Botman did. Bruno did. Come on, man. I think that's a little bit strange comment, to be honest, but I don't agree with that. But yeah, I mean, Ferran Torres, brilliant striker, of course. He's in the Spanish squad over there in Germany for the Euros. I did think it was a very, very cheap offer. But Barcelona, on the flip side of that, teams around the world know that their financial situation isn't exactly what you call stable. So, there's links to us with the centre-back Christensen again this morning. So, Barcelona, wherever you read reports about players leaving the club, all the reports state Barcelona need the money. And they need the money in order to bring new players in, but also because they don't have a lot of it right now. Now, Christensen, for me, he's been linked with us many times, the centre-back. I'd love him at Newcastle. I think he's a quality defender.
Oh, yes.
But he is probably, as Ferran Torres is, Billy, I think we've got this imaginary fake pot of options that Newcastle have signalled out. Maybe that they have a list there of players that they maybe would like more information on, or would like to get feelers out there to see if they'd be interested in coming.
Yeah, and I'm not sure arming Barcelona with money is really a good thing to do at this precise moment in time, if I'm perfectly honest.
Yeah.
Given that they like to put outdoor events on with hot burgers and hot dogs and things on for certain players. I don't want to be giving them money so they can give it back to us and take our Brazilian maestro away. Christensen, how old is he now? He's getting on a bit, surely.
I think he's still only 26, Billy. I think I read he was 26.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. I'll try and find the report again, but I'm pretty sure they said he was 26. I may be well off with that, by the way. But it did initially state. There's various reports on saying that we've submitted a bid for Ferran Torres, but I quite don't really believe that. What's this one? I think I think you're right, Billy. I think there is a ballpark figure that Barcelona will be looking for. And we haven't quite reached that. I think if you would ask me, would I love Ferran Torres at Newcastle? 100% I would. I think it'd be a brilliant, brilliant signing. Simply because I reckon that certainly Torres has got some learning to do, but also so has Isak. And bringing them both through would be absolutely tremendous. I think Christensen's 28. So... I mean, still a good age for a centre-back, to be fair. I know, everybody says, oh, let's bring in 23, 24-year-olds, but 28, he's coming into his prime now. Yeah. So I think would be a very, very good signing. Rufia Benisian says, apparently some reports say Barcelona made up the fake report and leaked it as they wanted to sell him. But he does not want to go, so the fake reports are to put pressure on him to go.
Interesting.
Well, Barcelona are good at doing that. They've done that with players in the past, of course, and heroes of the it's Tomori that's 26. Morning, Geordie's in Jamaica, says Jandals. Yes, it's bloody raining. Oh dear. I still think that the rain will hit the floor over there in Jamaica and just dry. It's probably nice and warm still over there. Bandit says, if Torres is that cheap, it's same as Tanali, i.e. he has something to hide. I think, yes, we've been stung with Tanali. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think we can put down just because a transfer fee might be a bit cheaper than what we first thought, that there's something sneaky going on behind the scenes. I think Tanali was a one-off. He's done his time. He's coming back in August, and we can't wait for him to come back. So, that's all water under the bridge for now. I don't think it happens twice.
I am concerned about Torres. I mean, not 2 years ago, he left Man City because he was homesick.
Yeah,
who's saying that'll be any different this time?
Well, 2 years is a long time, Billy. Maybe he thought, hey, England's not that bad after all. But we'll see. Now, Martin Dubravka and James Trafford, a little bit to report on those two. Dubravka, by the looks of things, is very interested in moving to Celtic, Billy. A couple of reports this morning stating that Dubravka has looked at the Celtic project, and the fact that they are in the Champions League next season, of course, is a massive pull for the goalkeeper. Now, there's nothing linked with any fees or anything like that. But do you think Newcastle would ask much for Dubravka, Billy, or do you think they just want him to go?
I don't think it'd be an awful lot. I don't know how long he's got in his contract. I think he's got a year left, hasn't he? So, a couple of million tops, maybe even nothing, just to get his wages off the bill. Yeah, I think that would be a good thing, a good result for Newcastle United. Not sure it'd be a good result for Celtic, mine.
Well, listen, Celtic. I mean, Joe Hart did a job for them, didn't he? But he's now he's finished. He's hung the boots up. He's decided to. Would Scotland suit Martin Dubravka, Billy? Because it's not, it's not.
Definitely.
It's not played at the pace that the Premier League is in England. Of course, it's there's a couple of teams there. I'm not going to disrespect Scottish football because I'm not like that. I think Scottish football has its place. Like every country has football. There's a place for football in every country, and yeah, there's Celtic and Rangers run away with it every season. But there is a competitive league there, and you ask anybody who follows Scottish teams in the league down. I follow Sam on Footy Adventures, who does a lot on YouTube of covering Scottish football, and he covers the lower leagues and even the non-league in Scotland. And I think it's brilliant what he does. I really do. And he gives Scottish football an outlet and an advertisement, if you like. And you ask any of those players that are even playing in the lower leagues, if they're, bothered. Of course they're bothered. They want to play, they want to perform, and they love playing football like anybody else anywhere in the world. So Dubravka to Scotland, for me, I think Celtic would probably get the best out of him, what's left of him anyway, and maybe on a year or a 2-year deal. It's just what Newcastle would ask for him. But I agree with you on that front. I don't think Newcastle would probably ask for a lot. I think even a couple of million, Billy. I don't even think it's going to stretch into a lot.
Could be free. Could be free. But I think it'll be fine for Celtic in the domestic football because they're in a dominant side, isn't it? Aren't they? And he's not going to be required to do much sweeper keeping type thing.
Champions League's different kettle of fish.
Champions League, it might look a little bit more kind of, he might be forced to do a little bit more running out of his goal, and he doesn't do that. So, would be great for Champions League. But are Celtic expected to win any Champions League, getting the second round through the group stage? I'm not sure they are.
But listen, it's Champions League football at his stage in his career. It might be the perfect option for him, to be honest. Now, on the goalkeeper coming in front, James Trafford has revealed that he's keen on a move to St James's Park. It states in the Chronicle Live that the 21-year-old is ready for his next challenge after Burnley's relegation, and talks remain ongoing over a fee with the Clarets. Discussions were paused after Newcastle offered around 16 million, but there is hope negotiations will continue in the coming days. A new price of £20 million has been mooted at Turf Moor as Burnley consider all their options after losing their fight to stay up. Trafford's currently earning £40,000 a week with Burnley, which I think is a lot more than I thought he was on. But listen, there's not much when you're talking about 16 to 20 million for Newcastle. I said initially I wouldn't mind James Trafford coming in at around 15 to 20. So, I know there's still a lot of people in the chat as well saying that they're not excited by James Trafford coming in. I don't think it's a bad option, Billy. I really don't. If Nick Pope starts the season and listen, they are confident of what his shoulder situation is like, then having James Trafford as number 2, it doesn't particularly worry me because I think he's a good goalkeeper.
Oh, he's an excellent goalkeeper, and he's not nowhere near his ceiling yet. And he's coming in to learn off Nick Pope. Be an ideal signing for us. It is as I was saying earlier about the fees these days, £20 million for reserve goalkeepers, a lot of money, but you've got to pay that for decent goalkeepers these days. And despite him having a poor season last year and a poor side, this kid's going to be something special. So, it'd be a great signing for us.
That's what we have to remember is that, without any disrespect to Burnley, they weren't a great side last season. And, both the goalkeepers had a lot of work to do. And, they're in front of defenders who are not the same quality as what Trafford would be playing in front of at Newcastle. Let's be fair. That's why Burnley were relegated. They were a poor side. And I think, to learn under Eddie Howe, to learn under the coaching staff, to learn with Nick Pope, of course, once a former Burnley keeper himself, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And certainly for that kind of money. We know that he spoke about very highly across the football world, James Trafford. A lot of teams are interested in him. But, when Newcastle come calling these days, it does prick the ears up with players. I'm a little surprised he's on 40 grand a week. Like, I have to say, that's a lot of money, certainly for Burnley. And you can maybe understand, with Burnley getting relegated, why they need players like that off their books with that kind of wage.
100%. That this will be the whole thing of it, the high wage. To get him through the door in the first place, they would have had to have paid him that kind of money from Man City to get him in there. I think it's an excellent signing for them, but it just didn't work out for him because he didn't really invest in defenders in front of him and never got streetwise to the Premier League. He wanted to play football out from the back. One of the reasons why I bought Trafford, that's one thing Trafford does do, and that's why he'd be a fantastic goalkeeper for us.
Now, Alexander, who deals with this kind of thing in real life, the shoulder does worry me. We don't know if he kept up with his regiment and recovery workouts. Any joints and tendon injuries are very tricky. One bad fall can redo the injury. Too many uncertainties. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with Alex because he's in that field of work. So that is the one thing. That is the one thing many people have said about bringing James Trafford in, is the fact that Nick Pope's injury, we're not sure how he's going to react to it. He played one game at the end of last season, looked fine, played in Australia, looked fine. But, after a run of competitive games, now we'll see what he does in pre-season, because obviously they'll put him through the rigor in pre-season anyway. So I have a feeling that if Nick Pope is number one starter next season, I think everything's okay, because they'll put him through the mill in training, Billy.
Well, he had the operation and had the pin fit, didn't he? And
yeah,
I can remember going back into the 80s, Brian Robson used to dislocate his shoulder every time he played. And they tried to hold off on the operation so he could get to the Mexico World Cup. Went to the Mexico World Cup, dislocated it there. Had the operation, and I don't think he ever had trouble with it after that. So that's going back 30, 35 years. I'm kind of nearly 40 years, in fact. So I'm pretty sure that Nick Pope's operation and the workouts that he'd had to do, to get himself fit. Otherwise, he wouldn't have never got in the side for the last game. Yeah. So I'm thinking everything will be fine with Pope. I really do. Of course, anything could happen. He could do his other shoulder next week. You don't know, but that's.
I mean, anybody could fall down the stairs and break their ankle or something, Billy. So you just don't know what happens in life. George says, "How much time are you guys giving Tanali to show his worth? Would patience run out quickly if he doesn't start well?" No, not for me. I have to be honest. I'm willing to give Tanali a good while to settle in again. Look, he's been through a hell of a lot, guys. Let's not forget this. He came to Newcastle with what we now know as a huge cloud over his head, worry, stress. And look, gambling addiction is an illness. And, he's had to overcome that as well. He's had a lot to deal with, and he's still a very young man, remember. So for me, I'm willing to give him all the time in the world to settle in, because we know what quality he's got. We saw it when he played in Milan. We saw it in the under-23 championships last summer. We know what this guy is capable of. So for me, I'm quite happy to give him quite a long time to settle in. He may not need that time. He may come back firing. He has been training with the lads all season, of course. But that doesn't sort of, mask into games quite as easily. But I think, Billy, we've got to give him the time. But playing alongside the likes of Bruno and Joe Linton, I don't think he'll take that long.
Yeah, he's going to have to slightly acclimatise. Plus, he's got to get himself match fit, because obviously he can't play games unless we have a bunch behind closed doors. So, August, is it 25th? He comes back, something like that. You're probably going to look another 3 or 4 weeks after that before he comes in, but he'll probably get on the bench. Yeah. But you got to give him all the time he needs to acclimatise, because he was showing signs of it. It wasn't even before his ban. He was looking like the player that we bought, and I'm really looking forward to him. I think he thinks he owes us something.
I am as well. Yeah, 100%.
I think he thinks he owes us something.
Well, he does. Let's be honest. While being too harsh to him, he does owe us something. And hopefully he will pay it back in bucket loads. Connor, thank you for your super chat. He says, go for Tomori and bring him back to England. I don't disagree with that. I think he's one player that we really should go for. Trafford was definitely rushed by Burnley, says Anthony. Maybe too much hype after the Euros, but as backup, he learned and developed to be even better. I totally agree with that. Yes, I think people are too quick to write players off. This guy's been around the England scene all his career. He's been in the senior England setup. He's got a lot of experience already for such a young kid. And, you do not become a bad goalkeeper overnight. And I genuinely think that if James Trafford signs for us, I'll be very happy with it and support him 100%, because I think we have to remember the fans in this country and the media are too quick to write players off. Unless you see it over a massive period of time. We've seen downfalls of players at Newcastle United, and, we'll come out and say it. But I genuinely believe that James Trafford will be a good goalkeeper under our coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, Tristan was asking the question, what makes him any different to Martin Dubravka coming in as a reserve goalkeeper? The difference between him and Dubravka is he plays the game our defence want him to play. He'll sweep the keep. He can play the ball out from the back, which Martin Dubravka can't.
I think Dubravka, he put how many times did you see the defence uneasy? I saw it live a couple of times last season when I was at St James's, and you can see when the balls are played over the top, the hesitation between the back four and the goalkeeper. When as Nick Pope, you didn't have that because they knew if a ball came over the top, they knew that their goalkeeper was going to be there to clear the ball. You don't have that with Dubravka because he's a very sort of stay-at-home goalkeeper. That's not maybe his fault. He's been like that all his life. But Dubravka's done a service to Newcastle. There's no doubt about that. It did turn sour, however. But, you know, Celtic for me would be a good option. Trafford to Newcastle would be another good option for me. So I think we have to just take everything with a pinch of salt right now. But it does seem like we're very close to Trafford. And we'll see what happens on the right side. But it's been a very interesting conversation this morning, certainly about the right-hand side. So thank you, everybody, for joining us for the morning news. Thank you for your super chat, Connor, as well. Mods, thank you. Billy, thank you very much. And thank you to you guys for joining us. Love these morning shows now to get your opinion on all the breaking news at Newcastle United. It's absolutely great doing it live. And then, of course, if you're watching this on a rerun, you're getting the same show. So please do subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to give it the thumbs up after you've watched it. That is very much appreciated. But enjoy the rest of your Monday, guys, and we'll catch you a bit later. Take care. And well, my mouse has stopped working right at the end of this show, Billy. But hang on, we've got Gary Hannant, who's been a member for 26 months. I think I better read his out.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. I personally think of Kubu Minte with his age, just like CR9 when he signed. Well, I think he meant CR7 back in when Man United signed him. Very raw talent. Yeah, possibly. Thank you for watching, everybody. Have a fabulous Monday, and we'll see you again very soon. Goodbye.
How are the lads and lasses?
Come back.